taught the food waste 5th grade storyline from PEI. I'm always in the cafeteria when my students dish up, and they take a lot of food, and I know that it doesn't all get eaten, so I thought, well, this will be a great unit to teach that is relevant to my students.
We do have a lot of farms and a lot of agriculture, and a lot of the kids either do have families that are participating in agriculture, or I would like them to be more aware of it. I think it's a very good life lesson for them regarding food waste. It's not just something that I want them to know in the classroom, but it's something that I want them to be aware of for the future. Megan Rivard is an amazing person, someone who's very interested in environment and nature and connecting science with the classroom beyond just a regular lesson. And so when we knew that Megan Rivard was connected with this PEI lesson, it was definitely a draw.
So I did not expect that I was going to have such like an eye-opening moment with the workshop, because we went through the workshop as students and we had to actually do a food waste inventory where we kind of like looked throughout our day how much we were wasting, and it was eye-opening to me to see how much I was wasting, and so I knew that my students would have that same connection as well. I guess I hadn't really thought about all of the parts that go into like producing food, and then how much your food waste impacts like the farm, and then the transportation, the grocery store. Like there's just so much that goes into bringing food to your own home.
And so sometimes with these workshops, it's not until you've really gone through it that everything comes together and you're like, okay, this was actually really neat. And I think we would like to implement this with our classes. There's 3 5th grade classes at our building, and we involved all 3 5th grade classes. Part of what we did initially was we had the 5th graders go and observe another grade level in the cafeteria.
I told my students, like, we're not watching for behavior. We are just strictly watching what are the students taking and how much are they eating and how much are they throwing away.
And the kids were so excited to, be just watching and critiquing and like, oh, they're making so many mistakes, because it's not them.
So from there, we talked about how can we track how much we're wasting, and it was pretty authentic. Like I had the guide from PEI, but my students really came to the conclusion on their own that we could weigh the food that we wasted. After eating lunch one day, they sorted their food.
Is it a grain? Is it a dairy? Is it a meat? And so they were keeping track of how much they wasted. And then we took that content and we sorted it. It was quite an undertaking. We had different butcher paper labeled, and the kids would take the content and dump it out and sort it, and then we had to measure it, weigh it actually, and keep track of how much food waste, how many pounds of food waste did we actually accumulate in just one meal with our school.
From there, we went on to learn about how our food waste impacts climate change, and that was a huge learning moment for my students because it took it outside of just like how it impacts our school, and they noticed like, oh my gosh, when we waste food, we're actually contributing to greenhouse gases, which is contributing to global warming.
I think they probably felt some, I don't know, responsibility, for that.
So PEI, through their storyline, really had some great resources to use to help students understand about Native Americans' beliefs about food. We watched a couple TED Talks, which were really cool. Something that was actually super engaging, we watched a Native American storyteller on YouTube who's local to Washington, and he just talked about how Native Americans view food as a gift, and my students really connected to it and took those things to heart. Another thing that was really a big takeaway for us was that Native Americans really view food as like eat what's available, eat what's in season, whereas, we are just used to having whatever we want available whenever we want it. And so that was a big takeaway.
My class was not actually working on climate change at the time.
Other than just conversations that would come up in the classroom, it wasn't something that I really taught. And so it was really cool to go through this unit because the students really were passionate about it. So I wasn't teaching it before, but it is something that now I feel like I will teach in the future. The food waste unit was super engaging to students because it's something relative to them, and I feel like it gave them a way to feel like they're making a difference.
And it was interesting, I was able to talk to some parents. Parents would see me and they'd say, "Oh my goodness, my child is now the food waste police at our house." And, it really became something that they were aware of.
They really felt connected to the unit and they felt like they were given a way to make a change. I noticed that students, after learning about food waste, were so aware of their own food waste. I go to the cafeteria with them, I help them get their lunch, I'm there while they dish up. Before the food waste unit, they would just take the scoop and they're just piling it on, and then everything would get thrown away. And then we would have conversations just while they're dishing up, and they're like, "Well, I know I'm not going to eat that much, so I think I'll only take 3 pieces of broccoli or however many." And so it wasn't just hey, write down why food waste is a problem. They could do that, but they also were then changing their habits in their daily life, which was great. And then the fact that they wanted to share that knowledge and make posters, and I said to my class, "Okay, we're just gonna make small posters." And they're like, "No, we need to make a poster for every classroom. We need to really make a big deal out of this. Can we speak at the assembly?" They were on fire. So I think just their passion and the way that they implemented this in their everyday life showed me that they had made a change.
Some of the big takeaways for my students were definitely food is a gift, take what you need, or don't take more than what you need. I would hear them say that over and over. And I think those are just really big life lessons that they could use anywhere, in the classroom, during summer break, Thanksgiving dinner, wherever they are. It's okay, I need to make good decisions with what I'm putting on my plate and putting in my body, and really food is a gift, and take what I need, don't take more than what I need.
A huge piece of learning for them was that they really didn't understand before this unit that our food waste contributes to greenhouse gases, which is contributing to global warming. They had no idea. And so that was a huge takeaway for them, just that our daily habits actually contribute to climate change.
Part of PEI, we were encouraged to have community partners. And we live in Ellensburg, where there's Central Washington University. And so just almost by chance, we were made aware that there is a Central Washington University farm and garden, and that classes could go and visit.
When we got there, they taught us all about sustainable agriculture. They taught students about composting. It was also cool because we learned that at the Wildcat Farm, they produce a lot of the food that is used to cook for the Central Washington University students. So it really related back to our learning about keeping food local, eat what's in season.
That was such a great way for kids then to take what they had learned from the PEI food waste lesson and see it really in play, having to do with farming and gardening and kind of the full circle of composting. Anyway, it was really, really a fantastic opportunity.
I think going through the workshop myself was really helpful because I went through it as a student, and so I kind of could anticipate what my students would think about it. And it got my wheels turning about climate change, so that I just feel like it helped me to impassion my students about climate change.
I think really PEI was kind of the framework for how to have the conversations with the students, and they were interested. They enjoyed it. They were kind of captivated just at having the hands-on activity, and like I said, I really hope they take this away as a big life lesson and implement it in their own lives. This is definitely something that we tried this year. It's you know what, why not? Let's give it a try. And it was so successful, I feel that this will definitely be something that my team and I want to continue with.
I'm just excited that I have done this unit, and I want to continue doing it. Year after year, it was very relevant and definitely made a difference in my students' habits. And so I'm excited to do it again.